how to have speed and control in your swings is the purpose of this video today. I want to break down how the hands and the arms work together to move your sword in order to not only have power and speed, but also control, and you can also guide it in different angles that you might need to. And who knows, with the information of this video, you may unlock this secret technique. Okay, before I start saying this, I'm breaking down a video only on the arms, but understand that the hands and the feet have to work together to have strong and fast Kendo. Now, from now on, let's focus on the arms. Commonly, I see some things that people try to do in order to have faster swing, but end up hurting their Kendo, especially in the long run. The first thing I see is people trying to throw the sword forward almost in like a stabbing motion. It almost looks like this, where people try to hit the man just by throwing the hands forward. And sometimes you also see where they don't engage the body. They just throw the hands forward, the body stays behind. You will notice with this, maybe you will get a little bit of an edge in speed, but there's not enough upswing to get a proper impact. So people, in order to compensate for that, they end up using their right hand to pull and push the sword. It almost looks like this. This is the one I find the most common because people want to do a harder impact by doing this. If you use your right hand, you can move your tip, but it takes a lot of movement for very little motion of your tip. Especially if you miss, it's very common to overswing with this type of movement. By moving with your left hand, you can get a little bit more motion with your tip, but also if you push your hands forward, if you throw your hands forward, it's going to make the tip go up and the sword come closer to the opponent. Long story short, you want to use both hands to move your sword, but each hand does something different. I'm sure you heard this before, that your left hand is your power and your right hand is going to be the control of the sword. Now, to move your sword, especially when you do that stabbing motion I mentioned and the pulling and pushing with the right hand, you're moving the whole sword together. But you gotta understand that the sword doesn't just move in one direction, it also kind of rotates. The way I set up my hands on my shinai, the left hand is going to be at the bottom. The right hand, what I do is instead of holding it tight, I hold it firmly with my bottom two fingers, but I rest the weight of my sword in the middle of my middle finger. So what that does, I can push in with my left and that makes the tip move. I'm using my right hand kind of as a rotation point to make the tip go up and down. And as I'm swinging and as I start the motion towards my opponent, I'm not only doing that, but at the same time, I'm following the shinai with the hand. I'm not trying to exaggerate this motion. I'm just trying to make them both work together. The left hand is not pushing down, it's going towards my opponent, and I'm using my right hand as a rotation point so the tip can come up at the same time that my sword is approaching my opponent. I really hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comment below, because I know it can be confusing. The way I try to do my motion again is I try to push with my left hand and that makes the tip move, and at the same time I'm pushing my sword forward so I can get an upswing and it's going to be easy for me to bring the sword down, or if I need to do any other motions I can do that as well. Now once you understand you can use your right hand as a rotation point, then you can use it not only to move up and down but also left and right, circular motions and so on. So what I try to do when I'm in kamae, I try to make sure that my right hand is an anchor point and then my left hand can move my sword around. I think this understanding is essential to understand how to move the sword for harai, suriage, and also for like Kaeshi Do. Because again, I see sometimes people, they pull back in order to receive. You should be able to throw your hands forward and rotate around to come down for the do. To start the motion for your sword, I use my left hand to push forward and cradle it on my middle finger. Now, to bring the sword down, instead of using the middle of my finger, I actually use the palm of my hand. So I can bring the sword down and still use my right hand as an anchor point. So I'm not pushing down, more than I'm pulling with my left hand and using my right hand as an anchor point. Especially at the moment of impact, your right hand should be stable and your left hand is the one pulling to create that impact. Avoid doing this type of motions where you use it completely, yeah, but then you break your elbow. This is not good either. I also do live streams. If you have any questions, you can pass by there and I can demonstrate and I can do all this stuff. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed so you can get the notification for that. The right hand is going to be a support for the left hand. The left hand is going to produce the power, but also the right hand is going to help you understand where the sword is going to go. For me, the way I like to see it is that whichever way I put my palm, the shinai is going to go that way. Because if you remember, I'm using my right palm as the anchor point to bring the sword down. So if I need to make an angle cut, I can just rotate slightly and I'll get a little bit of that angle based on the direction that my palm is going. This is extremely helpful again for things like Kaeshi Do, or maybe when having such an awkward angle for the Kote. because again, I'm using my right hand as an anchor point. The right hand, wherever the shinai moves, is going to follow. Most of the times, I'm not gonna say all of the times because there are exceptions again. You don't need to pull your shinai with your right hand or push it. And by the way, I'm going to make another video later on about how to create harder impacts. If that interests you, make sure that you're subscribed. And if you have a chance, please make sure that you hit the like button if you're getting some value from this video. Now, of course, I'm talking mostly about the hands in this video, but you want to put it together with the feet. So if you want to take the information from this video and mix it up with information in this video where it talks about how to move in Kendo, I think you're going to be able to understand how to move and strike fast and accurately. If you got some value from this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. Remember, I do live streamings on the weekend, and please, if you did enjoy this video, share it with someone you want their Kendo to improve. Thank you very much for watching.